6 News WOWT starts with breaking news.
We begin with breaking news. A Nebraska judge is not dismissing the case against a woman charged in the quadruple murders in Laurel, Nebraska.
Carrie Jones is accused of aiding her husband, Jason Jones, in the killing of Jean Twyford back on August 4th. Jason Jones allegedly killed 2 members of the Twyford family and then a neighbor of the Jones family just 9 minutes later.
Jones' alleged involvement is the caring for her husband after the incidents and stashing a pistol of his, but not informing police right away. Her case will now move forward in district court.